involves dismantling international cartels, dodging bullets in high-speed chases, and operating in the shadows where one wrong move means a national security disaster, only to be told that your next target isn't a terrorist cell, but a group of teenagers behind a school desk. This is the jarring reality our protagonist faces in the opening of the first episode, and the way the series frames this transition is nothing short of brilliant, because it forces us to look at the high school environment through the clinical, paranoid eyes of a professional assassin. The episode begins by establishing his dominance as an NIS legend, showing us his tactical brilliance and cold efficiency, which makes the subsequent reveal of his new mission feel like a deliberate slap in the face from his superiors. When he is handed that school uniform, the script doesn't just treat it as a comedic trope, it treats it as a psychological hurdle, because for a man who has mastered every weapon known to man, the most terrifying thing he has to face is the social hierarchy of Gen Z. As we dive into the first 1,000 words of this journey, we have to analyze the why behind this extreme measure, because the show subtly hints that the corruption within the school is tied to a massive financial conspiracy involving some of the country's most powerful elite families. This isn't just about a rebellious kid, it's about a fortress of privilege that even the police can't touch, which is why an undercover agent is the only surgical tool left in the box. As he walks through those school gates for the first time, the cinematography shifts from the cold, sharp blue tones of the agency to the bright, deceptively innocent colors of the campus, creating a visual irony that tells us the danger here is hidden in plain sight. You see the way he scans the hallway, not looking for lockers or classrooms, but identifying exit points, blind spots of CCTV cameras, and potential threats in the form of school
calculated and dangerous gear as we see our protagonist trying to bridge the gap between being a lethal operative and a nobody student. This middle section of the story is where the true brilliance of the script lies, because it deconstructs the idea of high school power dynamics through the lens of a professional analyst. He realizes very quickly that the school isn't just an educational institution, it's a miniature version of the corporate world he's used to infiltrating, complete with its own intelligence networks, enforcers, and a shadowy elite at the top. The way he approaches his first major confrontation is fascinating because unlike a typical action hero, he has to suppress every instinct to fight back physically. When the school's alpha group tries to provoke him to test his status, we see his brain calculating 17 different ways to neutralize them in seconds, but he has to choose the 18th option, submission. This creates a massive internal conflict for the character that the audience can feel through the screen. It's a test of his ego and his discipline. But why is he doing this? The script begins to peel back the layers of the mystery as he uses his specialized NIS training to bug the teacher's lounge and track the encrypted signals coming from the principal's office. This is where the episode gets deep into the how of the corruption. He discovers that the students' grades aren't just being manipulated for ego, they are being used as a front for a massive money laundering scheme involving donations from parent-led conglomerates. He realizes that the students are actually divided into categories based on their parents' net worth, and those at the bottom are treated as invisible or expendable. This realization changes the mission from a simple search and recovery to a rescue operation of sorts. The pacing intensifies as he makes his first ally, a student who is a social pariah but a genius hacker, and the dynamic between them is the heart of this part of the episode. He has to teach this kid how to survive without revealing his own identity, leading to a series of high-stakes accidents where he protects the kid from
finally explodes, transitioning from a game of shadows into a high-stakes survival situation that redefines what this mission is actually about. As the sun begins to set over the campus, the atmosphere turns heavy and industrial, stripping away the cheerful facade of the daytime school life and revealing the cold, predatory machine underneath. Our protagonist finally manages to infiltrate the restricted basement area he discovered earlier, and it's here that the script takes a dark, analytical turn. He doesn't just find documents, he finds a high-tech surveillance hub that is monitoring every single student's private life, not for safety, but for blackmail. This is the aha moment where we realize the school's true business model. They aren't selling education, they are manufacturing leverage over the future leaders of the country. Every text message, every secret, and every weakness of these wealthy students is being harvested to ensure their parents stay compliant with the shadowy organization behind the NIS's radar. This discovery raises the stakes to a national level, and just as he is downloading the encrypted data, the silent alarm he didn't detect goes off. This is the moment where his cover is tested to the absolute limit. Instead of running, he has to think 3 steps ahead. He realizes that if he disappears now, the mission is dead, and the missing agent's fate will remain a mystery forever. He has to orchestrate a distraction that allows him to escape the basement and reappear in the school library before the security teams can pin his location. The choreography of this sequence is masterfully written. He uses the school's own fire suppression system and a series of timed electrical shorts to create chaos, moving through the vents and hallways like a shadow, all while maintaining the heartbeat of a man who is supposedly just studying late. But the real climax happens when he's confronted by the head of school security in a quiet, dimly lit corridor. The second episode opens exactly where the tension left off, in that suffocating silence between our protagonist and the mysterious girl who saw him returning from the restricted zone. This first segment of the episode is a masterclass in psychological endurance because it shifts the battlefield from physical shadows to the bright, unforgiving lights of social interaction. For an elite NIS agent, blending into a crowd is second nature, but blending into a high school social hierarchy is a specialized kind of hell that requires him to unlearn every instinct of dominance he possesses. We start by analyzing his morning routine. He's not just getting ready for school, he's calibrating a persona, adjusting his posture to look slightly more insecure, and practicing a gaze that lacks the lethal sharpness of a trained killer. The script takes us deep into his internal monologue as he enters the classroom, where he realizes that the girl, who we now know as the daughter of a high-ranking politician, isn't just suspicious, she's testing him. Every time she looks at him, it's like a thermal scan, searching for a crack in his quiet student armor. But why is she so fixated on him? The episode begins to reveal that she is an outlier in this elite world, someone who knows the system is rotten, but lacks the power to fight it. Meanwhile, the mission moves from passive observation to active infiltration. Our hero discovers that the school's academic ranking system is actually a data mining operation. Students are forced to use a specific tablet app for all their assignments, but as he dismantles the hardware in the privacy of his dorm, he finds a hidden partition that records audio and captures ambient video even when the device is off. This is the how of the school's control. They aren't just teaching these kids, they are archiving their lives to build a database of future leaders who can be blackmailed from day one. In this 1,000-word stretch of the narrative, the pacing accelerates when the protagonist is forced into a high-stakes group project with the very bullies who targeted him in the first episode. This is a brilliant narrative move because it places him in a containment zone where he has to endure physical and verbal abuse without breaking character. You see the twitch in his jaw, the way his hands clench under the table, and the cold, calculated way he de-escalates the situation, not through fighting, but through subtle psychological manipulation. He starts planting seeds of doubt among the bullies, turning them against each other by leaking small, accidental pieces of information about their parents' financial troubles, information he gathered from his NIS database. It's a terrifying display of how an agent can dismantle a social structure without ever throwing a punch. But the real shock comes halfway through the morning when a special assembly is called. The principal, a man whose smile feels like a surgical blade, announces a new security protocol that involves biometric scanning for all students. Our protagonist realizes this isn't about safety, it's a direct response to his infiltration the night before. They're looking for someone whose biometric data doesn't match the civilian records. Now he's trapped in a building that is actively trying to identify his DNA. The script brilliantly captures the claustrophobia of this moment. The walls are closing in, the cameras are swiveling toward him, and his heart rate remains a steady, unnatural 60 beats per minute. He has to find a way to bypass a military-grade scanner using only the items found in a chemistry lab, and he has exactly 40 minutes to do it. This isn't just a school drama anymore, it's a race against a technological trap. He uses the chaos of the hallway to slip into the lab, and we see the human side of his genius, the frantic but precise way he synthesizes a synthetic skin patch to mask his fingerprints. As he stands in the line for the biometric check, the tension is unbearable. The girl is watching him again, her eyes darting from the scanner to his face, and for the first time he wonders if she's going to expose him or save him. This part of the script focuses on the absolute isolation of being undercover. He is surrounded by hundreds of people, yet he is entirely alone in a war that no one else even knows is happening. The segment ends with him placing his hand on the scanner, the red light flickering over his skin, and the screen loading a match found or error message that will decide whether he lives through the afternoon. The red light on the scanner flickers for what feels like an eternity, a digital heartbeat that could end his career and his life. But then it turns green, a successful bypass. This moment isn't just a relief, it's a revelation of how close the enemy's blade is to his throat. As we move into this second segment, the script focuses on the tactical aftermath of that near miss. Our protagonist realizes that the synthetic patch he used was a temporary fix, and that the school's security system is evolving.
The third episode opens in the immediate, heart-pounding aftermath of the rooftop standoff, where the blinding white floodlights of the school's security choppers have stripped away the last remnants of the protagonist's student facade. This segment is a deep dive into the concept of the controlled fall. Our hero knows that he cannot fight a helicopter and two different tactical teams while standing on a roof with a civilian witness. So, the script follows his rapid-fire analytical process as he calculates a trajectory that looks like a desperate jump but is actually a staged escape. He grabs the girl, the politician's daughter, and they plunge into the school's Olympic-sized swimming pool, a move that uses the water to mask their thermal signatures from the overhead drones. This is the moment the episode establishes a new reality. The school is no longer a place of learning, it is an active combat zone. As they emerge from the water, shivering and gasping, the dialogue is minimal but heavy. He doesn't apologize for dragging her into this, he simply tells her that she was never safe to begin with. The script focuses on the human realization that his mission has fundamentally shifted from intelligence gathering to raw survival. In this first 1,000-word stretch, we see them navigating the school's industrial basement, the gut of the building, where the pipes, wires, and machinery that keep the elite fortress running are exposed. This is a brilliant metaphor for the story itself. They are now behind the scenes of the conspiracy. He uses his wet uniform to short-circuit a keypad, and they slip into a maintenance tunnel that leads toward the faculty housing. Here, the protagonist has to perform field surgery on his own identity. He realizes that the NIS has burned him, meaning his bank accounts are frozen, his emergency contacts are dead, and his face is now on every most wanted list in the internal security network. He is a ghost. The girl, however, provides the tactical pivot the story needs. She reveals that she has been stealing admin keys from her father's office for months, but she didn't know how to use the data they unlocked. This creates an unholy alliance. He has the skills to survive, and she has the DNA to open the doors. We analyze the shift in their dynamic. He starts to treat her not as a liability, but as a technical officer. The pacing slows down just enough for a chilling discovery in the school's server room, which is hidden behind a fake wall in the principal's private gym. They find that the Project Icarus isn't just about monitoring students, it's about predictive elimination. The system has already flagged certain students, the ones with high IQs but low obedience scores, for disposal. Our hero sees his own name on the screen, but next to it is a countdown timer that has already reached 0. This means the cleaners aren't just looking for him, they have a shoot-on-sight order that bypasses all legal protocols. The script highlights his clinical reaction to his own death warrant. He doesn't panic, he simply checks his remaining ammunition and calculates how many minutes of stealth he has left before the sun comes up. The atmosphere of this segment is thick with the smell of ozone and damp concrete, a stark contrast to the sterile, bright hallways of the previous episodes. He begins to realize that the school principal isn't the final boss. The principal is just a middle manager for a global conglomerate that is using this school as a laboratory. The segment ends as they hear the sound of tactical boots directly above them. The cleaners have switched to infrared goggles. He looks at the girl, puts a finger to his lips, and hands her a small, jagged piece of glass, a makeshift weapon. It's a silent acknowledgement that the world of homework and prom is gone forever. They are now two wolves in a cage full of hunters. The protagonist realizes that as long as the school's secret remains hidden, the cleaners and the NIS retrieval team have total control over the narrative. They can kill him and the girl and simply report it as a tragic school accident or a gas leak. To survive, he has to turn the school's greatest weapon, its total connectivity, against itself. This segment focuses on the infiltration of the nerve center. They navigate through the crawl spaces toward the central broadcast room, which serves as the heart of the school's communication network. The script delves into the technical grit of the mission. He doesn't just hack a computer, he has to physically splice into fiber optic cables while the girl keeps watch with a handheld mirror to see around corners. The tension is thick because they're working in a space no larger than a coffin, with the heavy thud of security patrols passing just inches above them. Once he gains access to the primary server, he doesn't just look for files, he looks for the master feed. He discovers that every classroom has a hidden high-definition camera used for behavioral analysis, a part of Project Icarus that maps facial expressions to predict future rebellion. This is where the script takes an analytical turn. Our hero realizes that by broadcasting this live feed to every student's tablet